Coming up, a look back at the best of AOPA Live this week from 2015.
We'll look at some of our favorite videos, including the viewer favorites.
We'll revisit some of your favorite places and find out what the most viewed stories of the year are.
And we have breaking news on third-class medical reform. AOPA Live this week, the Director's Cut 2015 begins in just a moment.
Brightly, instruments for professionals.
Breaking news, the U.S. Senate has passed the Pilot's Bill of Rights too. Welcome to AOPA Live this week, the Director's Cut 2015. It's our yearly look back at the best from the last year. I'm Paul Harrop alongside Josh Cochran in the studios. Warren Morningstar is standing by in Orlando, and we'll have a fun look back at the year in just a moment. But first, we are following late-breaking developments in the push for third-class medical reform. We began with Tom Haynes in Orlando. He's been tracking the latest information. Tom?
Thanks, Paul. It's the most progress we've seen in all our time working on third-class medical reform. The full U.S. Senate has passed the Pilot's Bill of Rights too. Passed with unanimous consent, as a matter of fact. Now goes to the House for consideration. It has 152 bipartisan co-sponsors in the House. From there, goes to the President for a signature. AOPA President and CEO Mark Baker says it's a big step forward.
Thanks to all the members that have been supporting this thing through its challenges, ups and downs. I can't thank them enough for all the letters and cards and phone calls that they've made to the House and the Senate. But to get this far on the Senate floor, out of committee, and then fully 100% unanimous consent vote here last night is a terrific result. It's not perfect, I'll be the first one to say that, but in a compromising situation, to get 100% of the Senate to support, reforming third-class medical, very important.
Under the medical reforms of Pilot's Bill of Rights too, most pilots who have held a valid third-class medical certificate, either regular or special issuance, within 10 years of when the law is put into place, will never need to get another FAA medical exam. It covers VFR or IFR on aircraft weighing up to 6,000 pounds, carrying up to 5 passengers, altitudes below 18,000 feet, and speeds up to 250 knots indicated airspeed. Pilots who develop certain medical conditions will have to get an FAA special issuance medical one time only. If you haven't had a medical in the last 10 years, you'll have to get a medical certificate from an AME, but after that, you'd be able to fly indefinitely without needing to go through the FAA medical certification process again. Pilots will need to visit their personal physician once every 4 years for a medical exam, which probably isn't a bad idea anyhow. Pilots will need to fill out a form and provide it to the doctor performing the exam. The pilot must make a note of the visit and keep the signed form in his or her logbook. The form will include a short medical history questionnaire, as well as a list of items the doctor must include in the examination. Following the exam, both the physician and the pilot must sign the form verifying that the items were examined and discussed. Now, during deliberations prior to passage of the bill by the full Senate, language was added requiring the physician to certify that he or she is not aware of any medical condition that, as it is currently being treated, would interfere with the ability of the pilot to fly safely. So, big news and a great forward progress. Our Washington team continues to work hard on this issue. We'll keep you updated with any more developments as they happen. While the Senate acted on the Pilot's Bill of Rights, Congress still has yet to pass a budget. As we record this, government's limping along in a series of short-term continuing resolutions, but House Speaker Paul Ryan says a deal is imminent on an omnibus budget that will fund the government, including the FAA, through September 2016, which all of a sudden doesn't sound all that far away. Meanwhile, big news for drone and model aircraft owners. You're going to have to register with the feds. Recreational drones weighing between 250 grams and 55 pounds will have to be registered with the FAA before making their first outdoor flight. It costs about $5 in the last 3 years. Once registered, owners will receive a registration number and a certificate. The registration number will have to be displayed on the aircraft, and the certificate can be printed out or displayed on an electronic device as proof of registration. And model aircraft flyers, yep, that means you too. The AOPA Air Safety Institute continues its WeatherWise series. This one might be helpful over the holidays. It's on IFR flight planning. You know, in some ways, flying IFR makes weather planning a lot easier, but more time in the clouds means more exposure to potentially dangerous conditions, which makes good pre-flight planning even more essential. WeatherWise IFR flight planning explores the major hazards facing IFR pilots and how to get a solid grasp of the big picture before leaving the ground. Watch the video at airsafetyinstitute.org. Hey, remember, AOPA members have free access to our suite of flight planning products, and they're always being improved for safety and more efficient flight planning. AOPA just announced updates to the AOPA Flight Planner and AOPA Go mobile app.
Both of those products now support ACAO flight plans and ACAO equipment lists for aircraft profiles. And the online flight planner also has a new feature called the range tool, and that range tool supports time, distance, and fuel calculations to aid in long-range flight planning.
You can find the Flight Planner at aopa.org/flight planner. AOPA Go, the app, is available for download on the iTunes App Store and at Google Play. Hey, Red Bull Air Race is roaring through the Brickyard. The 2016 schedule's out, and the race series has added Indianapolis Motor Speedway to the lineup. The series gets started in March in Abu Dhabi, then goes to Austria, Japan, Hungary, the UK, and Germany. Then, on October 1st, the Hoosier Skies host the competition. The championship happens again in Las Vegas on October 15th and 16th. We'll bring you all the excitement as the series happens. And this from the There But By the Grace of God Go We file. We had a reluctant visitor at the National Aviation Community Center this week. The crew of this Challenger were unfamiliar with the Frederick Airport. They're trying to find their way to the FBO at night. Now, from the taxiway diagram, you would think you could get there from in front of our hangar, but in reality, that stubby taxiway is much narrower than depicted. And the crew probably didn't know that it's been an especially wet few weeks, so our infield is, well, mostly mud. You're not going to power through that. But a reminder to all of us, know exactly where you are on the airport at all times. So, a lot going on as we wind down this year. A lot of things to follow as we begin 2016. I'm here in Orlando taking some training toward a commercial certificate. It's a lot of fun, also a lot of work. We'll have more on that when we come back in the new year. Now, back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you, Tom, for following that important news. So now we've eaten our veggies with the news part. Let's get straight to the dessert.
Yes.
My favorite part of a meal.
We're taking a look back at 2015. It was a good year for us here at AOPA Live this week. And now that it's the holidays, we like to reflect on the year. Paul and I are reflecting from chilly Maryland.
Yes, but somehow AOPA Live executive producer Warren Morningstar found his way down to sunny Florida in December. Warren, must be good to be king. Get us started down there in the sunshine.
Well, it's been sun and not so much sun. We're sort of scattered to broken right now down here in Florida. But Florida really is an aviation mecca, and with sunny weather like this most of the time, it's not hard to see why. But just a short hop from the peninsula are the Bahamas. Now, we've flown there a number of times over the years, but back in January, AOPA pilot editor-at-large Dave Hirschman took us there by seaplane.
The sparkling blue of the Bahamas is intriguing at any height, but when seen up close from a seaplane, it dazzles. Rocky green reefs are visible beneath the clear ocean surface. Miles of white sand beaches pass by a few wingspans away. Tiny, never-visited atolls barely clear the ocean surface. And some of the world's best saltwater fishing and scuba diving attract sportsmen from around the world. Flying here is a sensory overload. The best part is that these exotic adventures are well within reach for U.S. pilots. Even a relatively slow-flying Cub, for example, can make the trip from South Florida to the Bahamas' more distant out islands in a single day. Most seaplane owners are reluctant to operate their airplanes in salt water, but in the Bahamas, the chance to explore remote beaches and keys is just too good to pass up. And such journeys are all the more memorable when shared with friends. These cubs have been prepared for salt water with extra corrosion protection, and they'll be thoroughly cleaned when they return to the mainland. Seaplane flying in the Bahamas was severely restricted in the 1970s and 80s to combat drug smuggling, which was rampant in the region back then. Some of those outdated laws are still on the books, and AOPA is working with the Bahamian government to open up more opportunities for recreational seaplane flying. These aviation-friendly islands are well known to U.S. pilots, and expanding seaplane flying here adds a whole new dimension to the excitement. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
What a beautiful place to fly. And you know, it really isn't all that difficult to fly to the Bahamas in a single-engine aircraft. But flying the Caribbean isn't just for fun. Josh, you showed us how general aviation can literally save lives on the island nations.
That's right, Warren. We had the opportunity to tell the story of Dr. Randy Reiser. He used his airplane to serve the people in Haiti who are still recovering from the devastating earthquake. Here's a story I produced and shot with Dave Hirschman.
General aviation allows Atlanta physician Randy Reiser to bring his medical skills to the impoverished people of Haiti.
Economically, Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And the people here struggle with the availability of very basic necessities of life.
Reiser flies his A-36 Bonanza several times a year, carrying medical supplies and fellow volunteers.
It seemed to me to be a perfect opportunity to combine medicine and flying in order to help out this organization.
Reiser volunteers with Eternal Hope for Haiti, an Atlanta-based relief organization founded by nurse practitioner Twilla Haynes.
After I saw how little it took to turn a sick body into a healthy body, then I began to appreciate basic primary care, because that's what we're talking about.
Primary care is an essential need in Haiti.
Things that have very simple treatments and very inexpensive antibiotics can do a lot of good in these things. These are sometimes fatal diseases in Haiti because of the fact that they don't have even those basic things.
Reiser has traveled to Haiti for 21 years, frequently seeing the same patients on each trip.
And I've had the opportunity to see patients who were very sick, some of them very small children who were very sick, and over the years have watched them get stronger, grow up. That's been very gratifying.
For Reiser, the challenges of flying to Haiti are not a deterrence.
Having your own plane gives you flexibility. We have the ability to take what we need when we need it.
Shipping is a major cost. So every time he comes in, he brings in whatever space he has. Every nook and cranny we pack in.
Reiser says the economic situation in Haiti is worse than when he began traveling there 2 decades ago, but he is not discouraged.
When you can begin to see your efforts pay off in the lives of individual people who would have been dead from a relatively easily curable infectious disease, these are the things that continue to make people want to come back.
Reiser says the Haitian people inspire him.
It's those strong values, the family values, and their strong determination. I'm always struck by the fortitude of the people, their stoicism, their tremendous internal strength. And so it's easy to form a personal bond.
Reiser knows that one doctor and one small airplane can't eliminate the suffering of an entire nation, but he's committed to do as much healing as he can, one patient at a time. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
Well, that's an impressive story, Josh. Very nice job
Thanks.
on that. I have to ask, what stands out the most to you about your time in Haiti?
You know, Paul, I was really struck by just the strength of the people. You know, we were in an area that wasn't directly affected by the earthquake, but still the people live in a tough situation. I was just really struck by their strength and perseverance in a difficult place. So
amazing, and great to see aviation helping out. Yes. And you don't have to travel outside of the United States to find general aviation helping the public. General aviation serves America, and sometimes in some really awesome ways, like in Fort Myers, Florida, where helicopters help keep mosquitoes at bay. It's a sunny winter day near Fort Myers, Florida. The Lee County Mosquito Control District is hard at work, keeping pests at bay. At less than 100 feet AGL, they're on a mission to help keep the people of Southwest Florida healthy.
It demands a lot of professionalism. There's not a lot of room for error, and it's always challenging.
But these aviators are up to being down low, and quality of life in the area depends on it.
When Congress was going to stop Florida as a state, they sent a congressman down here, and after touring Florida, he came back and recommended that they just leave it as a territory, leave it for the Indians because it was uninhabitable because of the mosquito.
But at a few dozen feet AGL and 60 knots, flying is a full-time job.
There's obstacles, there's dead trees. You'll be flying along and all of a sudden you see there's a dead tree that the boom could snag on, and you have to kind of gradually ease the helicopter up so you don't snag the boom. We also have a lot of birds in this area, so there's a lot of wildlife that will end up flying in front of you while you're flying by, and obviously you don't want to hit a bald eagle, so it takes a lot of vigilance for the birds that are flying around.
Vigilance, skill, and a whole lot of nerve.
Mosquito control is very necessary. There's a lot of mosquito-borne diseases, malaria, chikungunya, West Nile virus, and it causes a lot of pain and suffering and can even cause death. Without doing mosquito control here in Florida, we would still have these viruses that are not completely gone, but they're very much under control.
Thanks to the brave pilots of the Lee County Mosquito Control District. In Fort Myers, Florida, Paul Harrell, AOPA Live. Well, now from bold pilots to, well, more seasoned ones.
Yes, we had a chance to meet another group of incredible Florida aviators called the Mavericks.
You're not too old. Age is not a handicap. Attitude is a handicap.
It's a golden Florida evening, and unlike other retirees, the Mavericks, a group of mostly 70-something former airshow pilots, are in the midst of a strenuous formation aerobatic flight.
Okay, Mavericks, let's go to live rust.
Each maneuver requires precision, finesse, confidence, and physical strength.
To me, it's almost an art form. It's a fluid ballet dance rather than an aerobatic routine.
The Mavericks don't seek sponsorships or even big audiences.
G's coming on.
They do this demanding, hazardous, and unforgiving flying purely for their own reasons.
I love the adrenaline rush. When we go to fly, it just pumps you up.
I don't do it for money, I do it for love. I truly love it.
I want to look back and say, I had a mission and I pursued it. And I think I'll continue to have a mission. This is our mission.
Feeling that you've done a job really well done is a great reward.
Here we go.
The Mavericks count more than 220 flying years of experience between them. But even with all that knowledge, communication is essential.
Get to the vertical, put the G's on.
Well, we're very honest with each other. And I think you have to be very honest because your life depends on it.
We've known each other, most of us, for a generation or more. And so we can almost anticipate each other's movements.
We do demand perfection, and we respect each other for that perfection.
The Mavericks keep pushing themselves to learn and grow.
I'd say I've proved to myself that this old dog can learn a new trick.
Age is not preventing me from growing, or from learning, or from being what I want to be, or for pursuing my mission.
Age isn't holding the Mavericks back, it's pushing them forward.
If I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do anything I want to do, I better be doing it right now. Because the greatest tragedy is to be on your deathbed and look back and say, I wish I had learned to fly formation. I wish I had gone flying with my buds. Wish I had challenged myself and learned how to do something. That's the greatest tragedy of life.
Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
Love that story. What a great cast of characters.
Thanks, for sure. And speaking of characters, let's go back to Warren in Orlando.
Very funny, guys, but just remember who signs the paychecks. But if you want to see some real characters, Florida has plenty. Unfortunately, we can't fly over the most famous characters because, well, there's that Mickey Mouse TFR. But there's one place on Earth that has even more characters than perhaps any other, and you can fly right into the center of it.
For the open-minded, I recommend Burning Man. It's a banquet. There's everything from anchovies to dessert.
An open mind? Sure, but seal up everything else. Burning Man gets into your soul, the dust gets into every pore. Somewhere north of Reno and west of Winnemucca, at a dry lake bed in the middle of the Nevada desert, is 88 November Victor, Black Rock City Airport. For 1 week a year, the temporary airport is the aerial gateway to the massive counterculture festival. Ramona Cox, better known as Sky Chick, was one of the first to fly into Burning Man 19 years ago.
And I heard about it. I was sitting in a hot tub in Esalen, and somebody said, oh, there's a party in the desert, a costume party, and I heard that somebody may fly in. And they gave me the phone number, and I took the phone number, and I talked to the fellow, and he gave me he said, this is a general latitude and longitude. It may not be right there. You may have to hunt and look around the desert. So I did. There were only 50 tents up over maybe a 3-mile area. So I looked, I thought, here's a party. I'm going to land in the middle of the tent. So I landed, nice space, not near the tents, but close enough. And the party grew all around me.
And grow it did. What started with a handful of aircraft is now some 120 GA airplanes, plus dozens of charters.
It's completely changed because it's grown substantially. The first year I was here, there were 10,000 people, which sounds like a lot, but it's over a huge area, a 3 or 5 mile area. It's grown now. I think this year there's 60 or 70,000 people.
And everyone bangs a gong when they arrive. Art cars blast music at all hours. And out on the playa, Spanish for beach, but here a big dusty place, the temple. Like the other big art structures here, the temple gets torched. And the burning of the temple and all the personal mementos inside provides a somber end to an otherwise exuberant week of over-the-top celebration.
Thanks, Dave. I think he and Chris Rose are still finding dust in their gear and their clothes from that trip. Now, 2015 has not seen too many new aircraft models unveiled. The Honda Jet, yes, got its type certificate this year. But the biggest splash of the year came from the first customer delivery of a light sport amphib that won't spin. Here again is Dave Hirschman flying the Icon A5.
From a pilot standpoint, it inspires confidence. It feels very natural. The flight characteristics are totally delightful. The first takeoff, the first landing, you feel right at home.
Okay, water is up, flaps set, we're ready to take off. The compass check here.
We did some air work in which we were trying to, stall the plane and aggravate it, and it's like that wing just holds on and wants to bite into the air and keep flying.
Watch the airway, okay? That horn's going to come on about mid-yellow. Feel that? Yeah. So at full power, there's the horn. Now you'll get the bumping as we get up close to the red. All right, so watch. Here we go. Pull up, there's the bumping. All right. 4.5 6. the requirement is that you can fly the airplane at full stall like this. Now watch this. Now bring it some rudder. Bring it some left rudder, but watch what the ailerons do. That's amazing. It should go right over. But pick up the right rudder, and I count on this out with the aileron.
Right. I can't imagine really, doing an inadvertent stall and the spin resistance. I've heard about it, I've read about it, but until I actually saw it, I wouldn't have believed how resistant it can actually be to a departure and spin. I've got to say, I had high expectations going in, but I'm really impressed. It's really surpassed all my expectations.
I can't wait to fly one of those myself, and I just happen to know two guys who have orders in on them. It looks like a ton of fun. But Paul, you found a new vision of an old design that seems just as cool.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more cool than a Beechcraft Staggerwing. But imagine if we could have had those classic lines made with modern technology. Well, in the late 1990s you could, and it's called the Griffin Lionheart. Rare is an understatement. Beautiful does not do it justice. It's hard to describe the Griffin Lionheart.
It was inspired by the Staggerwing G model. We like to think of it as what Walter Beech would have done had he had the composite materials and tooling that we have today.
Larry French envisioned a composite home-built kit that would bring the golden era back to life.
He wanted something that could haul 6 adults with a lot of room, get there fast, and something that looked classy.
6 kits were made, and this, the factory demonstrator, is the only currently flying example. Powered by an R985 with a 10-to-1 blower, this big cat can go.
It's got the useful load and payload basically of a de Havilland Beaver, so we're 5,200 pounds max gross. We cruise economy at 185 knots burning. We can get her back to 18 gallons an hour at 8,500 feet.
Everywhere Lionheart prowls, it draws a crowd.
It's fun, it draws attention.
Which brings it full circle for current caretaker Chris Davis.
I first met this airplane in, I believe it was '99, which was actually my first trip to Oshkosh. And I talked the ear off of Gordy, who was the test pilot and the demo pilot, and Larry French. They were both there showing off the airplane. And I was a young kid at the time, and just it was cool. I never thought, fast forward the clock, what's that, 12, 15 years, and I would come to know the airplane, get to ride in it, and then be the guy flying it.
Larry French no longer flies the airplane and allows Chris to be a steward of it, so people can still see what might have been if Walter Beech had been around a half-century later.
We let everybody that assumes it's hard to fly just believe that. It just demands a little attention. It's got a few little idiosyncrasies. You don't fly it like a Cub. You fly it like a Lionheart, but it's not really that difficult to fly.
On the night we took Lionheart up, we shared the pattern with a Beech Staggerwing over Tennessee. Both airplanes are a remarkable sight, but Lionheart roars.
It's got a very distinctive whistle that we affectionately call it Lionheart's roar. And you can hear it in the cockpit once you hit around 200 knots. Before that, it's just everybody else around, can hear it.
Flying this airplane makes you feel like you were back in time.
when design and function flowed perfectly together, when radial engines were the norm, and when class, taste, and style came with staggered biplane wings.
To me, it's a special airplane. There were only 6 built. Like I said, it's basically a stagger wing of the next generation.
In Tullahoma, Tennessee, Paul Harrell, AOPA Live.
So Paul, that airplane really looks like it was a lot of fun to fly.
Oh, it really was, and it was great to share the pattern there with that stagger wing right at sunset. One of those great aviation moments. And it's really amazing what they can do with composites. And you've got a story this year about a composite aircraft, but not exactly an airplane.
Yeah, not exactly an airplane, but in some ways cooler than an airplane. Dr. Claudius Klimt was looking for a new aviation venture and found it in a gyrocopter.
I love anything that flies. Being up in the sky has never lost its attraction. The unique things about the aerocopter, visibility is almost unlimited. You have glass all around. It really can turn on a dime. It can maneuver safely. It's an exhilarating feeling to sit out front and not really see much of anything of the airplane. They can't stall, and they land at 0 miles per hour. So when they land, they're not moving forward. If an accident takes place on landing, it takes place at very slow speed. Everybody who sees this for the first time says, wow, what a beautiful aircraft. This is unique. This wing is both a fuel tank, an aerodynamic wing, and a landing strut. These seats are made in a factory right next to the ones that are going into Lamborghinis. The aircraft sort of feels like a tight glove. Prior to start, you engage the pinion gear and pre-rotate the rotor to 200 RPM to get it started rotating, and then as you accelerate down the runway, the rotor RPM increases to 340, and then you're ready to fly. Seeing the world from 500, 600, 800 feet, it's just beautiful.
Coming up after the break, we will go full-bore warbirds.
We'll fly a Mustang, a B-25, and much more.
Plus, right along as we get intercepted by a brace of F-16s, and we'll tell you what the viewers say are the favorite videos of the year. You're watching AOPA Live this week, the Director's Cut 2015.
From your first skyward glance, the dream of flight compelled you. And from your first glimpse of a Cirrus, you realized that dream had a name. Cirrus Aircraft. Go where you've never been before.
Welcome back. You're watching AOPA Live this week, the Director's Cut 2015. We're looking at the best of the last year.
Now, one of the last things I think any pilot would ever want when they're flying is to get intercepted. But Warren, you rode along in a training mission that did just that on purpose.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. You know, NORAD says there are still too many general aviation pilots who inadvertently violate TFRs, and they really wish we wouldn't do that. Now, to give us an idea of what it's like to get intercepted and to hopefully spread the message about being more careful about TFRs, we did go along on a training mission with the Colorado Civil Air Patrol and the Colorado Air National Guard.
Attention on guard, attention on guard. This is the United States Air Force Armed Air Defense Fighter. Aircraft from Goodland, VOR radial 21244 DME 7000. Tracking east at 130 knots, squawking 5001. You have been intercepted. If you can hear this transmission, acknowledge with a radio call on simulated guard 123.1 and rock your wings.
Odds are you won't hear that, but what you will see in just a few moments is one of these coming up beside you, and you don't want that.
We were invited along on a training mission with the Colorado Air National Guard. Now, we're in a Colorado Civil Air Patrol Cessna 182 flying as a threat aircraft, and we've just penetrated a simulated TFR inside the Cougar MOA. And because we've ignored the fighter's first radio call, he's going to make a pass to eyeball us. He tries again to call us.
Aircraft November 594 Charlie Papa, you are entering restricted airspace. You are ordered to turn west immediately. If you do not follow these instructions, you may be fired upon.
And still we ignore him, so he gets more aggressive. So what should we have done?
We're going to reach out to you. The FAA is going to reach out to you. The Coast Guard helicopter, the fighters are going to reach out to you. And one of the ways, if you're not up the right frequency, which is, 9 times out of 10, as long as you're listening to Guard, we're going to get to you.
The bottom line is start talking to somebody and pay attention to what the fighter's trying to tell you to do and do what he says to do.
We'll rock our wings. And that's just a sign that says, hey, look, do you see us? We're here, do you see us? And it's just a simple, if you do see us and you're unable to establish two-way communication via Guard, then just rock your wings as well. And that's an acknowledgement signal to us that you know that we're there. So just that simple wing rock right away reduces a lot of pressure, a lot of stress on a lot of people.
Well, the first thing both the fighter and the folks on the ground are trying to determine is, are you really a threat? And in truth, they really just want to help you get out of trouble.
When we do intercept the pilot, we're first thinking, again, safety, how can we help the pilot, and then safely maneuver the pilot away from whatever we're trying to protect at that day.
Yeah, November 594 Charlie Papa, F-16 intercepted you. You've entered some restricted airspace. You need to exit the restricted airspace and turn south at this time.
I'm a VFR pilot, and I'm on top of a layer of clouds, and I'm not sure where I'm at.
And do you need any assistance from us?
The batteries in my GPS went dead, and I'm not sure where I'm at right now. If you could help me get somewhere where I can get down through a hole in the clouds, that would be helpful.
Cap 594, armed defense fighter pulling on your left wing. We need you to turn right approximately 30 degrees. New heading will be 210. I'll stop your turn if you don't know where that is. We are going to escort you towards Lamar Airport. And follow me on your left wing.
Yeah, one of the things that amazed me about that story was how noisy an F-16 is. I mean, I could hear it inside the aircraft with my headphones on and the noise of a 182 engine. But still, amazing birds and amazing pilots. It was an interesting story to do. Paul?
All right, Warren, hopefully we'll never have to see that in person, but thanks for that great story. Well, hey, let's go ahead and call it. 2015 has been the year of the warbird. There have been so many advances for the culture around these old machines. B-29 Doc is well on its way to joining Fifi in the air. Our friends at the Commemorative Air Force have done a nice job getting warbirds in the mass media. And perhaps the finest hour for aviation this year was the Arsenal of Democracy flyover in our nation's capital to mark 70 years since VE Day.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime sight. Over 50 World War II airplanes flying over the Mall in Washington, D.C. The Arsenal of Democracy flyover is a reminder of the sacrifices made during World War II. The flight marks the 70th anniversary of VE Day. Thousands watch as wave after wave of airplanes come down the Potomac and right down Independence Avenue past the Washington Monument. There's a lot of work to put together as the airplanes are flying through some of the most restricted airspace in the world. Airshow announcer Rob Ryder explains how each airplane flying overhead played a role in the war effort. From L-bird trainers to heavier hardware, they're all included.
Outfitted with 13 .50 caliber machine guns in 8 different locations on the plane, the 10-member crews of the B-17 flew this aircraft, earning the nickname Flying Fortress.
But as it often is, the story isn't about the airplanes. It's about honoring the greatest generation who, 70 years ago, used this arsenal to answer the call of freedom. People like Robert Stacy. It's been 7 decades since he flew on a B-24, but he remembers it like it was yesterday.
We went in around the island, came in out of radar, dropped bombs, and as we go out, no anti-aircraft, no fighter, but a black wall of ammunition. And I said, last mission, I'm going through a black wall, and no way I could get home. Our Father, as I said it, the black wall dissipated. Thank you, sir.
And it's a somber reminder of World War II's legacy. B-29 Superfortress Fifi roars overhead, her radio rumble echoing off the monuments she preserved, and a missing man formation to remember the real cost of standing here today.
Of course, victory in Europe could have never happened if it weren't for historic battles like D-Day, and that history is being kept alive through the rebirth of the C-47 that led that invasion. Paul Harrop has the story of That's All Brother.
I'm really happy that these people are doing this sort of thing because this plane is very important. This type of plane particularly is important. The invasion could not have been successful, in my opinion, without it.
And you see, Jim Pee Wee Martin's opinion is more valid than yours and mine combined. 71 years ago, this airplane led him into battle. He jumped out of a similar C-47 with the 101st Airborne on D-Day. In the waves behind, That's All Brother.
And I look at it today, my feelings come back the same as I had before. It's the greatest plane the Air Force had.
And it's being made whole again thanks to a successful fundraising campaign centered around a Kickstarter, bringing a smile to veterans who see it on the ramp at Boeing Plaza.
And Pee Wee, who jumped on D-Day, says it means a lot to him that people would rally around this airplane and restore her to her original flying condition, but he says he hopes it means something to the current generation of service people as well.
These veterans that young ones now today tell me how much they look up to us, and it's appreciated. But I tell them, I said, 40 or 50 years from now, people are going to be looking at you like you look at us today. And I said, be proud of what you're doing.
But what are years? His 90+ won't stop Pee Wee from honoring the history of That's All Brother in true airborne form.
If that plane gets done next year, I'll be jumping out of it.
Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
What an amazing find. Well, the best stories about World War II aren't about the airplanes, but about the men and women who served our country using them. One of those incredible heroes came to our regional fly-in at Anoka County Airport to tell the story of the Women Air Force service pilots.
Groups of spectators line up to see the shiny BT-13 and talk to the woman who flew one over 70 years ago.
I can't lose the hat. It's from 1944.
With her contagious laugh and youthful energy, Elizabeth Strophus, or Betty Wall as she was known in the service, remembers her time as a WASP like it was yesterday.
They came and did the mission, and then afterwards I dove in at them. Afterwards I pulled up and I got out of the airplane. A woman. You mean you were the worst woman that flew that last mission? I sure was. They said, we didn't know there were any women in the Air Force. For the longest time, nobody knew women flew the airplane. But I let as many know as I could.
The WASPs filled a critical need in World War II. The U.S. was in dire need of pilots, and nearly 1,100 women stepped in and answered the call. They risked their lives flying military aircraft on a variety of missions. Sadly, the military abruptly canceled the program and sealed the WASP records for 30 years.
I get a little emotional because I love to fly so that it broke my heart when they told me I couldn't fly anymore.
Now, a group of volunteers is making sure the story of the Wasps is not forgotten. It all started when a couple friends visited the Wasp Museum in Sweetwater, Texas.
We decided the Wasp Museum down there needed some help. And we decided, well, BT is something that we had, BT-13, we had worked on quite a few times. So we would see if we could put a BT-13 together for them.
This BT-13 was flown by Wasp pilots as a primary trainer. It will be the first airplane owned by the museum. Since the project started 3 years ago, the group, now known as the American Aviation Heritage Foundation, has spent hundreds of hours working on the project. For them, it's about so much more than the airplane.
The story behind the Wasps, it's such a compelling human story. And for me, and I think all of the guys involved in this project, that human side of things is much more important than the airplane.
This BT-13 is named for Betty, and she is grateful for the honor.
It's so nice to know that somebody recognizes that I was a pilot, and I am a pilot.
The project is not only an inspiration for Betty, but for the volunteers working on the BT-13 as well.
It is such one of the biggest pleasures you can imagine is to come out here and hang out with guys that you enjoy being with, that share a common passion, and who work hard together. And I don't know what I would do if I didn't have this in my life. It is just such a joy.
Once completed, the BT-13 will fly around the country telling the story of the Wasps to future generations. The foundation is hoping to complete the airplane this spring and deliver it to the museum for the Wasps' homecoming in 2016. Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
Wow, the spirit of the folks that served in World War II is just amazing. I'm always humbled every time I get a chance to listen to one of them speak. You know, there's not too many of them left with us.
It's so true, Paul. But if you really want to get a taste of what it was like to fly back in World War II, did you know you can get a type rating in a B-25 bomber? And that's exactly what our Tom Haynes did.
It's loud, smoky, and a real handful to fly.
Here comes the buses coming right now. Do you feel that? Yeah. Okay.
I'm at Delaware's Sussex County Airport to earn my second-in-command type rating on the legendary B-25 Mitchell. We're flying Panchito, owned by the Delaware Aviation Museum Foundation.
This particular airframe, though, was built in the fall of 1944 in Kansas City at North American plant, and then immediately went into service as a transition trainer.
You're going to go first, correct? Is that Tim? My instructor, Paul Newer.
Okay, we'll assume that.
After lengthy ground school, we get to work in the air.
You know what you're going to do. You got the left throttle and the mixture. As soon as it starts, I'll nod. You're going to go and advance this here. You're not going to advance that one, but you are going to pull it back to keep us below 1,000 RPM, correct? Okay.
Okay, fine.
Is it in the right position to start? Right at this little black mark is a good place, okay? You ready? Yeah. Clear left. Clear left.
From starting the twin Wright R2600 engines to taxi to flying, you have to give this old girl respect.
Power's coming. Keep your nose in contact with the ground. Ready here, now rotate with right rudder in there. Rotate it like this, and be ready to come back down. See how we'll just keep it just off the ground. Just off the ground and accelerate. A little bit higher, a little higher, a little higher. Don't fight me, about that angle there. Hold it back.
On takeoff, I'm humbled to think how the Doolittle Raiders did this from the deck of the USS Hornet.
Above 500 feet coming up now. Left pump looks good. Right pump. Right wing is clean. How's the left one look? Looks clean. Okay, very good.
We practiced a few maneuvers and some slow flight. Nothing unusual here, except I'm reminded that this is a 26,000-pound airplane, and it feels like it.
You're making a turn. You got to lead with the rudder going this way. Mag with it going this way. Yeah. If you want to coordinate it.
Demanding two hands on the yoke at all times, max gross, nearly 39,000 pounds.
135. Go slow. I'll roll back here a bit now. Keep it going down. Keep it going down. Okay, now start braking the descent. And the power start right, got a little snap right then. That's good.
Welcome to the B-25 Order of the Greasy Piston. This is a souvenir of your B-25 SIC rating to take home for your office.
Oh, wonderful. Not much carries over from the Bonanza to the B-25, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, the B-25 is just an airplane. And once you get it in the air, it flies like an airplane. You know, although it's very heavy in roll, and you have to put in an input, and then wait for that to, as soon as you feel that beginning to take effect, you got to take it back out again, almost like flying a blimp. That's really what it reminded me the most of, was flying a blimp. The B-25 is an icon of the Second World War. This medium bomber served in many theaters, but is perhaps most well known for its role in that Doolittle raid on Tokyo. Flying this proud machine gave me a whole new level of respect and admiration for those young men of that greatest generation who climbed aboard these mechanical marvels and launched across oceans and continents with the most basic of navigation gear, many of them to never return home again.
You know, all the young men, you know, they climbed in these airplanes, you know, with a letter. They left a letter laying on their bunk, you know, home to their parents, their girlfriend, their wife, or whatever. Because every time they took off, they didn't know if they were coming back.
There's fewer B-25s these days, but Larry Kelly works with a team of volunteers to help keep Panchito alive for future generations.
So some people say maybe I'm a little silly, maybe maybe I'm a little unreal about this, but it is a passion for us, you know, to keep the story alive and keep the airplanes flying and keep the stories going.
Yeah, and Tom keeps doing Doolittle takeoffs in his Bonanza ever since. Well, if a bomber is just too slow and serene for you, maybe you'd rather learn to fly a P-51 Mustang? Pilot Tom Fath used his dream of mounting up on a Merlin as inspiration to get back into the cockpit.
Incredible. After dreaming about it for decades, rusty pilot Tom Fath is flying the P-51 Mustang at Stallion 51. The dream started when, as a boy, Tom witnessed a Mustang land at his local airport.
I can remember touching it, and it was like an electric shock. And I said to myself, I promised myself that someday I was going to fly one. And that's 45 years later, and I finally had the opportunity to do that.
There it is. The flight starts with the basics. First some stalls, then Tom works his way up to other maneuvers, starting with an aileron roll.
Looks like you made it. There you go, just hold it over there. Don't change the thing, a little bit left rudder now. Nice job.
A barrel roll.
Hold what you got, don't change the thing, you're doing awesome. Yahoo! All the way around, I'll start taking the ailerons out real gentle. Very gently start bringing the nose up.
And finally, a loop.
A little more forward, you're doing awesome, man. Looking out the wingtip, you're going straight up. Give me a little bit of right rudder now. Beautiful job, look out. Everything's upside down, you're doing great. There's your runway underneath it. Be a great gunshot on big 29s, wouldn't it? You got it. Easy pulls, very well done.
They shared the airspace with another World War II bird.
I do have a B-17 that's just south of 2901 APA for landing at Sebring.
Tom flies the plane home with a perfect landing.
It was a phenomenal experience, something I won't forget anytime soon, and loved every second of it.
After the flight, Tom and instructor Lee Lauterbach head in for a debrief and, of course, the logbook entry.
So much. An absolute pleasure.
So what's next for Tom?
Desire to fly the Mustang has reintroduced me to the aviation industry and has spurred me on to hopefully be reactivated as a pilot in command fairly shortly.
All of which leaves the aviation community short one rusty pilot, replaced by an active, reinvigorated pilot with an unforgettable story to tell. Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
So now it's time to find out what you, the viewer, determined by plays were the highest rated videos of the year.
And for that, we go back down to the land of SeaWorld, Disney, and putt-putt golfing. Warren Morningstar's on a mission in Orlando. And Warren, the top rated videos from this year, well, aren't really from this year at all.
No, it's funny, Paul, the top-rated videos aren't from this year. You know, we do the very best we can to find interesting stories for you, our viewers, things that we hope that you're going to enjoy, but we never really know for sure what's going to engage the audience. Sometimes there's a story that just grabs people and it goes viral and it gets spread across the internet and on social media. And that's what happened with the two stories we're going to show you now. It's a story that actually is in our #2 position as most viewed, but it's a story from last year. AOPA pilot editor-at-large Dave Hirschman's tall tale, the story of a true barn find.
There's nothing else in the world like this here. There's nothing left like this, to where a person could come out here and purchase something and take it home and make it a showpiece. When you come here, and I've had many, many friends come here, and I brought them here and say, Connie would say, well, bring them on. If they're your friends, you can come. So I bring them and I show them, and the instant they get here, it always happens the same way. Oh my gosh, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And everyone does it that comes, everyone. No one misses that part. We have the privilege here, there's very few ME-109s left in the world. We have 6 here, and they were all in the movie Battle of Britain. The 2-seat, dual-control 109 is the only one that can fly, that's flying right now, would be flying if we put it back together. But it would be the only one that's flyable in the world. The other part of history is Adolf Galland flew this thing in the movie Battle of Britain. He was flying it, and the British ace flew it. The German ace and the British ace flying the same airplane together. I mean, it has that to me, that's a value. The love of flying, if you're a pilot and you love airplanes, this is what you really want to look for. This stuff can go anywhere in the world. It has that much of a history, and that it means that much to many, many warbird people. Keep it flying. Like the old warbird things, keep the warbirds flying, and these are masterpieces, and we want to me, that's the value part. Not sitting in a museum somewhere just drawing dust and being a collector's item. I'd rather see them flying.
Well, I'm not a collector. I mean, I think they've collected me. It's not a museum, it's not a collection, and and so if someone wants to go and see old airplanes, go over to the Commemorative Air Force or whatever, if they've still got any. Right. Well, I ended up with the with all this big bunch of Messerschmitts from the Battle of Britain movie, and how I ended up with that many Messerschmitts I brought back is they owed me a bunch of money at the end of the movie, and they was going to give me an IOU, and you don't want to take an IOU from any movies. I've never been in one that, by gosh, everybody didn't get stung. I just told them that I'll take airplanes, so I ended up with, I think it's 16 Messerschmitts, and I traded 2 of them for this Spitfire, which this is the one I flew during the Battle of Britain and got shot down 72 times in this plane for actual takes. I shot down 128 times a Messerschmitt. Only the Brits would keep count. I didn't have the foggiest idea, but I did it for dang near a year. And so I ended up with packing them up and shipping them back, and that's how I ended up with all of these. And having not been an amateur when I went there, I'd already had many, many hours in P-51s, the Hellcat, the Bearcat, SBD. I've flown them all. And so I'm pretty good authority on what a plane will do. It's a good example of P-51. Boy, at war emergency, you've got about if you're lucky, 3,200 foot a minute rate of climb. Spitfire, this is Mark 9 right here, it's lucky to get 4,000 foot a minute. Now this 109 over here with a derated engine will climb 5,800 foot a minute. The only thing P-51 will do that a Messerschmitt won't, it will go a lot further and it can catch in a dive. But it's not going to shoot you down because it can't turn. Boy, you get 300 miles an hour in a P-51 and you're almost locked in there with because your ailerons are so heavy. And the Spitfire is one heck of a lot worse. Given the same pilot, same experience in a Spitfire or a P-51, the Messerschmitt is head and shoulders over it. I turned 80 this month, and I'm still in great health, and I still enjoy flying. But at 80 years old, I lost my son tragically last year, and he was an absolute superb aviator. Everyone knew him. His name was Tex Edwards, and he was, of all things, killed in a highway accident, and he was probably one of the most qualified pilots in the U.S., maybe the world. And he was 41. And so consequently, I've got a 6.5-year-old grandson and almost a 2-year-old granddaughter. And so consequently, there's nobody else around here to, for all this stuff to go to. So yeah, but someone don't need to come down here and think they're going to get a bargain. That's what I'm saying. I don't need these bargain hunters. But I've enjoyed my flying life. I've busted a few of them, and I got my RAF wings for belly land a burning Spitfire out near Bedford, England, during the Battle of Britain movie. But all I can say is that I've probably lived more lives than anybody I know, and with the exception of a few times, I have survived.
Connie really is quite a character. It was really enjoyable meeting him and going through his collection. One of the highlights of my time flying here. And now in the #1 spot, with nearly 300,000 plays this year alone, is another 2014 story from AOPA senior photographer Mike Pfizer and Barry Schiff. Stand up and salute, folks. It's the PBY Catalina.
The consolidated PBY was a key element in winning the Pacific War against Japan. Jim Slattery, a devoted student of World War II and founder of the Greatest Generation Naval Museum in San Diego, knew that his collection of U.S. Navy aircraft would not be complete without one. He found this PBY in South Africa, where he had the aircraft undergo a meticulous and lengthy restoration.
Some of the planes less well known, but had great contributions. The reason you're here and we went after the PBY was the Battle of Midway. That was the reason for wanting to get that airplane, because Strawberry 5 was the PBY that found the Japanese, and the extraordinary contribution that these airplanes made during the war, which people don't fully understand. They were terrific sub-killers, They kept the submarines, you know, as far as their range off the coast of England and off the coast of the United States. And there's just something about the PBY to me. It's like an ugly duckling that you can't help but fall in love with. It has its own form of beauty and its own form of, there's something special about it. But the relationship to us and what I wanted to accomplish was really about having it as an essential member of what happened at the Battle of Midway, and the Battle of Midway being the pivotal place. And it was a little bit of a nutty thing. I mean, not too many people buy an airplane 12,000 miles away, and we had to go over there, restore it, fix it. So we had to search the world for things like the watertight doors between the compartments, and have the blisters restored, and everything back to make it original. We just kept kicking butt till it was done. But we were pretty determined, and thought it would be worthwhile in the end to do it. And what an adventure. So it was kind of fun. And the PBY was an interesting aircraft, and it didn't have floors. And it had a 10-man crew. It had catwalks. And in the section that we're in right now, we would have our radio operator and navigator. So the plane had a pilot, a co-pilot. They had an interesting theory then. They didn't want the pilots to have any gauges that would distract them. They wanted their eyes outside, because that was their job. So this plane also had one of the first flight engineers, and he sat in the little seat up in the pylon up there. And he controlled all the engines, he read the gauges, he did everything that wasn't essential to flying. So this was really a VFR flying plane. This was a seat of the pants, look out the window airplane. Was designed to be that, because those guys had to stay out there and find those kids in the water or find the enemy. And because they went out on great long trips, they also had a cook. And a little kitchen to keep everybody fed and happy. A couple of guys in them who manned machine guns, guys who did the actual recoveries and spotting. And so all in all, they had 10 men with a series of watertight compartments. It's built like a submarine, so that if you punctured one or had a wounded one and had to land, you didn't flood the entire thing. We play with the airplane and riverbeds and lakes and pretty calm situations. These guys were putting these airplanes into 10-foot seas and getting out again in combat conditions. Extraordinary group of young men that did that.
Oh, blow the man down, bullies, blow the man down. You mean
To board a PBY, you climb a short ladder, step through the left blister, walk up the catwalk, and go headfirst through the forward hatch into the cockpit. An unusual aspect of the cockpit is that the throttles and engine controls are on the ceiling. Starting the 14-cylinder Pratt & Whitney radial engines is more art than science, and the sound they make when coming alive is pure nostalgia. The airplane does not have nose-wheel steering. You have to use differential braking to maintain directional control while taxiing. Steering during the takeoff roll is done by walking the throttles until the rudder becomes effective. Maneuvering a PBY requires you to use muscles you never knew you had. Airplane systems are relatively simple. The PBY doesn't even have wing flaps. The landing gear is operated hydraulically, and the wheels can be extended in the water for taxiing up a ramp and onto land. Come over the fence at 80 knots, ease the power off, and land the big flying boat like any other airplane. Flying a PBY is like soaring slowly and romantically across the pages of history. This is Barry Schiff for AOPA Live.
What an amazing airplane and a beautiful story. Thanks to Mike and Barry Schiff for that story. And thanks to you, our viewers, who make it all possible.
Absolutely, we could not do it without you.
Well, that's it. Those are the best videos of 2015. We hope you've enjoyed the look back. We'll be back from the holidays with a new edition on January 7th. Until then, I'm Josh Cochran. For Paul, Warren, and the rest of the team, we hope your holidays are great.
Blue skies, everybody. See you next year.